Sweet, right. All right, g'day everyone. We've got Melissa here, who I connected with. We did a video a few months ago. We won't go through everything today, but I watched your video with JC you did recently. It was really good, and I was thinking of reaching out to you, and then you ended up reaching out to me anyway.
Yeah. Good
Um,
timing.
so I don't know. I think a lot of people would already know you, but yeah, for those who don't follow you on Instagram, what is it? That homeopath, isn't it?
Yeah, yep.
That homeopath. Yeah, absolutely love what you do, and I've had firsthand references from you saying how good you are and the work you do. And yeah, I don't know, it's a cool time there because it's like we're seeing the end of the medical
Mainstream
industry.
medical.
You can just see it like holding onto its last grasp. So we'll talk about your course that you're going to do, but do you want to just give an intro?
Yep.
Know.
Yep. So
But
I'm
they
a
can go back
homeopath.
and watch the last video we did anyway too. So, but yeah, give us a
Yeah.
rundown.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a homeopath. Homeopathy is an energetic system of medicine. When you look back into the roots of it, you see a lot of things, but mainly you see that a lot of medical doctors back in the day started to realize that the practices that they were using back then were actually really harmful. They were not healing people. And you had this medical doctor named Samuel Hahnemann, and he was just brilliant minded, like next level sort of intelligence. And he has come across the understanding, not only has he sort of pieced it together in his own mind, but back in the day, he worked in a Masonic library under the richest man in Romania, whose name was Baron von Bruckenfell. So he is going through all of his esoteric texts, so all about alchemy, Isaac Newton's work on alchemy. And I mean, everybody knows Isaac Newton for his laws of gravity. Everybody knows and understands all that. And yet, all of his work on alchemy, hardly anybody knows about that. So Samuel Hahnemann gets to read all of these things, and he's piecing together, oh my gosh. So all of these people who have sort of hidden this knowledge, I would say, in these libraries, which always mysteriously burn down and no one has access to, Samuel Hahnemann got to read. And then he has founded homeopathy, which is the principle of like cures like. We use frequencies to heal people. You take a substance from nature, you harness the frequency of it. So let's say arnica. Most people have heard of arnica. You take Arnica montana, the plant, you potentize it, you get that frequency instilled in a remedy. Then when the person takes that frequency, it lights up the energetic fields of the body and it stimulates a healing response. Now, if you look at like arnica, the tissue, like under a microscope, you get 2 petri dishes of like tissue. You put Arnica montana on one and then you observe them under the microscope, you see how quickly it heals all of the white blood cells, all of that. So even though it's a frequency, it has a rapid effect on the physical pathology, because human beings, at the very core of it, we are made of energy. We are humming waves of this like endless potential just collapsing in on each other. So when you light someone's vital force up, you can see physical pathology change really quickly. So where this plays into, like, I guess the future, but also the past, is that we used to have hundreds of homeopathic hospitals around the world. So in the US alone, they had over 100 homeopathic hospitals, 1,000 homeopathic pharmacies. And yet somehow people in Australia and the US largely don't even know what this system of medicine was. We actually had in South Australia, a
Because they talk
homeopathic
about it as
hospital.
an alternative, man. It's not an alternative. It's like the way it was.
The way it was. And Rockefeller himself, obviously, J.D. Rockefeller, considered the father of modern medicine. Obviously, we all know backed pharmaceuticals, but he himself had 3 private homeopaths that looked after him and his family. The Queen of England, their royal family has always used a homeopath. The Queen says she would never travel without homeopathy. Now, a lot of people don't trust these famous figures, but homeopathy is legitimate. And it is going to be the future as we are stepping more into, I mean, people are realizing it, that your vibration is what affects your overall health. So while what you eat does matter, and the amount of toxics, like substances that you load up in your body, at the core of it, the energy is the most important. And so if you've got dodgy emotions, that is energy circulating in your body. You look at something like cancer, and people, like, they look at studies and they say, oh, if you drink, 2 glasses of alcohol a night, your chances of getting cancer are XYZ, increased. But really what you need to look at is, well, why is the person drinking? Do you know what I mean? If they're drunk, if they're not drinking it to enjoy it, what are they running away from? It's the energy of that's going to cause the cancer much quicker than, the little bit of toxic load. The body's like resilient. But yeah, looking at those aspects of it. So the
Can you still hear me here? It's raining a bit.
I can hear you fine. I can't hear anything out behind you.
I just want to know, because this came up recently. How much is the actual, like, the homeopath got to do with it too? Is that like the actual energy of the person making? Yeah, right. Because I've heard different things about this, and I mean, I don't know if you consider yourself an alchemist too, but it's like, because you're inserting your energy right into it as well. Does that have an effect?
I would say definitely has an effect. How strong is the effect? It's hard to know. Definitely my expectations for their healing, because I've done it so frequently now. Let's say I work predominantly in fertility. I see so many people get pregnant. So when they come to me and they're crushed and they've got no hope, and I can say to them, well, look, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I've seen this many times. This is what I expect for you. This is what I expect your hormones to do. Now fill me in a couple of months with what's happened. And I do think that my expectation, that plays into it, but then also the confidence that I give them. I mean, we all know that the placebo effect is valid. Homeopathy extends far beyond a placebo, but you want that to weigh in too. I need them to have hope. Do you know how many times a doctor diagnoses someone accidentally with a disease? They look at a scan and they say, oh, you've got this type of cancer. Oh, sorry. And then the person comes back and they go, holy shit, we read that wrong. You don't have that. And then they have actually manifested the cancer within them. So the effects of, like, a doctor who gives a diagnosis and says, unfortunately, you're never going to conceive, that makes their body sort of much less receptive, to conceiving. So I do think the homeopath matters. And you look at Reiki and these sorts of other healing modalities, the person's energy matters.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, I believe that. I just want to know what you were thinking. But I was looking up, like, Apollo the other day. How they take the Hippocratic Oath to Apollo. This is a bit off.
Right. Yeah. Go.
But and Asclepius, which is his son, which is like the physician. And just after I saw that, someone sent me a picture of the tree, and it was like you could see, like, Apollo in the tree, and it was like, to me, it seems like the whole medical industry's tried to, like, that Apollo side's like trying to mimic what already exists. Hang on one sec. I just got to grab my bag.
Yes, wait.
Okay, so
do you know what's interesting? Just one thing with Hippocrates. Everyone knows Hippocrates, and they know that the mainstream medical model, so like doctors, they take the Hippocratic Oath, right? So it's like, do no harm. And Hippocrates said, though, there are 2 modes of healing. You can heal by the law of opposites or the law of similars. So Western medicine went completely with the law of opposites. You've got a fever, I'll give you a fever reducer. You've got a rolled ankle that's getting inflammation, I'll give you a steroidal anti-inflammatory. We'll knock that out. And they just counter the body at every move. Now that is helpful in an emergency, car accident where, like, you're bleeding out and you're going to die. You want the law of opposites, like, to bring you back. But for everything else, the law of similars is what actually heals somebody. So you want to support the body in its healing constantly through the law of similars, like Hippocrates said, not the law of opposites. So this is where, when we're going into the future, people sort of think, well, where does Western medicine fit in? Because we know it has a place somewhere, but it is for that.
So is that how homeopathy works, with the law of similars too? Like, you find a matching natural component for that ailment or whatever. So is it always the law of similars?
Yep.
Really?
And let's say, for example,
I guess that's how like homeopathic immunization works too.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. And so also, let's say you have had a medical intervention like a vaccine and you have had an adverse reaction. How does the homeopath heal the damage that has been done by that, you give the homeopathic version of that specific medical intervention. So let's say it's called Pfizer, and you take that. Now, like cures like, when you re-expose your body to the energetics of that exact stimulus that was the first assault on your body, the body gets to work recalibrating, and you will see rashes disappear, inflammation reduced, all of these things. And it is like cures like, but you're also giving it in the energetics, the frequency of it, which is actually stronger than a crude dose. This is also where medicine gets it wrong. They think because it's diluted and succussed, it gets weaker as you go. It gets stronger as you go, because you are going down to the energy, and we are humming energy. That is the best way for our body to respond. So,
yeah, I mean, I've seen that, you know, that experiment with the flour
dipping it in water.
In the water, and it just holds it a bit. So do you want to give me one like example with? So I know so many people now, they've got cysts on their ovaries, endometriosis, all these kind of things. So what's an example you would do there with?
Yep. So I'd be looking at what is
similar with that.
Law of similars. So let's say they've got cysts. So then I would take their whole case, and I want to know, when did the PCOS symptoms, for example, come on? Was it after taking the pill? Oftentimes it is after that, or getting the HPV vaccine. I want to know, when did you first notice that things got thrown out? When did your period start to disappear? Then I'm going to use a homeopathic medicine, give to you. Your body's going to recognize it. It is going to light up your vital force, and your body's going to start to heal itself. Now, within everybody is this divinely intelligent, just constantly flowing energetic force. That's what we call the vital force. In acupuncture, they call it chi. They direct the flow of energy along the meridians. Homeopathy is so much stronger than any other modality. I don't mean to like sound elite, but it's like, it's just true. And this is why the hospitals were homeopathic. This is why homeopathy is so censored, is because it is the rival. You know, it's got everything to treat everything, from the psychiatric things like bipolar and schizophrenia and this suicidal depression, which plagues people. The depths of the inheritance of like the energetic sphere that you get from your parents, from your grandparents. We know that this is passed down through generations. They've done the studies on the mice. It is so obvious that trauma is inherited. So nothing else, no drug, no supplement, no herb can touch the depths of the human spirit like homeopathy. And that's why I think it's the biggest threat, because it sets people free from all of the addictions and all of these feelings of like, you know, inadequacy, not good enough, like poverty mentality, everything that keeps people in binds. You can trace back to, where did this come from? And then you want to find a remedy, and you want to give that to the person, and you want to allow the body to respond.
You're saying the cause dictates the remedy. So it's not even the illness. So if you had like cysts, would that be different for each person based on the cause? Although the cause could be similar for each, right? If it's affecting that area.
And you'll see commonalities. So a lot of people will need a remedy that's the same, like Thuya for PCOS, that would be quite a common one, but it could be like up to 10 different remedies, 20, that are all indicated in cases of PCOS and stimulate that person's individual vital force to heal. You want to match the person.
So, I get that might be the difference between a really like a holistic skilled homeopath and I guess a run of the mill.
Yeah. And this is where protocols.
I remember because Isaac Golden that you've got in your course too. Because I remember Mum took me to him. I had like chronic tonsillitis as a kid. I used to get every like 2 or 3 times a year, and she said the doctor kept saying, "Just get your tonsils out." And Mum said he just gave me this little drop, and they'll gone like in 2 days.
Crazy. Yeah,
I never had it my whole life until actually last year I got it again. But
oh my gosh,
until then,
crazy. And Isaac has done work with. So Isaac had a vaccine-injured child in the 80s. So then he's gotten into all this research, and he's looking for, well, what is another safe way to protect, children from infectious diseases? Because we know that there is reason for that in some cases. And so he's like digging into it. And then so he does his PhD in homeoprophylaxis. So what that is exposing the human body to like an element, let's say to pertussis, whooping cough. So you expose the person homeopathically to the energy of the whooping cough, you know, and then if they should come into contact with it in everyday life, the body already recognizes it because it's already been energetically exposed to it. So you never manifest the symptoms. So it's much like you can see a different aspect of immunization, but it is exposing your body to it already, but it's on the energetic sphere. So you don't get the issues with heavy metals and toxins and the immune overload. You still stay strong, but your body does recognize it. So he did that at Swinburne University, where he was overlooked by, you know, professors who are critiquing every step that he does. And that went through. So then when he gets a call from the Cuban government in like what, 2010, 2012,
That's right.
and they say, yeah, they say, can you come over? We want to talk to you. And he was saying in my practitioner course to people, he's telling us a story, and he's like, I was pretty scared. And like, he's like, I didn't know, honestly, if they were just going to knock me off or what was going on. And he ends up going, and they end up taking him to this room, and he's in this moment, he's like, oh God, no, this actually looks bad. But it ended up to be a completely legitimate thing. And Fidel Castro, for whatever people want to say about him, was a massive fan of homeopathy, but also natural medicine in general. So he had all sorts of things going in Cuba. And homeoprophylaxis was one of them. And they saved millions of lives in that leptospirosis outbreak, where millions of people got homeopathically immunized. So the results of those studies, like they're in PubMed, and they're unambiguous as to the results of it, like comparing to conventional methods and then homeopathy. So like Isaac was saying, for the Australian government not to have told people about this prophylaxis with the COVID virus going around Australia, it's criminal. And I mean, there's so many layers upon the criminality of what they've done, but to hide from the Australian people a method that has such like data and evidence backing it up is, yeah, very unacceptable. So
it's isn't it bizarre? Cuba of all places, right?
yes. So he's like mad communist. And at the same time, he's got like, they're using acupuncture for anesthetic in major surgeries. He had musical, like vibrational sound healing rooms in the hospital. And so when you read the article in the Washington Post and they're talking about this, they're making out like, oh, poor Cuba, they couldn't afford our Western pharmaceuticals. And so they had to resort to this like pleb stuff. And it's like, bud, they were so far ahead of you, you idiots. But
yeah, it's bizarre that like it isn't like the third world usually doesn't have the restrictions of the West. All right, so do you want to go into your as we go on for your course? Yeah, tell us about your. So you've already we just mentioned Isaac. You've got him on there. Have you got got different? You've got your actual university lecturer on there as well.
Yes. So if anyone's watched any of the interviews that we've done or I've ever done, people always ask me, how'd you get into homeopathy? And it was, I was studying to be a naturopath. I had this university lecturer who used to sort of pester me and say, oh, you'd love homeopathy. And I always fobbed him off because I didn't know what homeopathy was. One day, obviously, I got exposed to it and I was like, holy, what the heck? And anyway, now he works for me, works with me, takes all of my referrals, and he's like so busy. It's like, he just can't believe it. So he's in our course and he is a brilliant wealth of knowledge. We've got Kim Parry, another homeopath. So she's teaching a lot of women's health things. We've got Sarah Valentini, who specializes in children, complex children. So we're looking at ASD, PANDAS, ADHD, ADD. So at the moment, you've got 1 in 7 boys in school are medicated. That's how bad this situation has gotten. So homeopathy is a massive help in avoiding any of that. Also, probably not being in the mainstream, schooling system is also a big help for not needing to be medicated. But so we've got Sarah, we've got me, and Isaac. That's all of us.
So is there any prerequisite for doing your course?
So we've got 2 courses. So no prerequisites, but we do have 2 courses. So there's one which I am training people to be a practitioner of homeopathic medicine. Now, in 6 months, so it's just 12 fortnightly modules. They're about an hour and a half to 2 hours. We go through the protocols that you can use to immunize people to detox from vaccinations. We go through fertility, the main protocols that we use to help get people pregnant. And then we do homeopathic first aid. So this allows people to also make their own homeopathic first aid kits in their businesses. So anyone who, you know, is any follower of yours, if they work in any field that is, you know, any kinesiologists, doulas, we just put through 60 practitioners. Most of them are nurses and midwives who wanted a career change. So they come with, you know, knowledge of the human body, but not, you know, we got heaps of like just essential oil mums who know a lot about health just from what they've researched and what they've learned. A lot of these people know more than a lot of your straight 180 medical professionals anyway. So they're really receptive to it. It's not insanely hard. It is so interesting. And then they can go forward and practice. Now, a lot of them will eventually want to keep studying more to learn about more classical chronic case presentations. So your eczema, your asthma, your endometriosis, your, you know, big, you know, deep things, but it's really good for making an income. And so if anybody wants, I would say it is the best job in the world, hands down. It is flexible. I work with people all around the world. So I'm like literally Bosnia, the Middle East, Lebanon. I send my remedies because they're only a small bottle, cheap shipping, and we have a massive shortage of homeopaths. So anybody who loves health and psychology and vibration, and they want to understand how certain traumas can sort of lodge into people's bodies and cause disease pathology. And anyone who eventually wants to work in these homeopathic sort of hospitals that we're hoping to recreate, it's no secret that the mainstream medical model is completely crumbling. So my dad's a doctor. He just gives me a little inside view every now and again to what is happening. And I'm just like counting the days before it's a complete implode of everything that we've ever known. And when we get to that point where they cannot service people anymore, people are just going to go to whatever works. And I want to encourage people to sort of join us now and start training up now so that when that happens, we're ready. So it's a soft landing, you know, so you know how to look after your families and help other people, you know, because people need an alternative. We are always going to need medicine to a certain extent. We don't need it the way that it has been, but we will need medicine to recalibrate people's energy. So yeah, that the practitioner course is
the real layman can come in, do the full modules, and then by the end of it, can you start making their own homeopathic remedies for their friends, right?
Because in Australia, there are no legalities around who can practice homeopathy. It comes down to your knowledge and your confidence. And so I really train people to say, you've got to stay within your scope. You're not going to go out there and say, I can help you with la, 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 you know, these deep, complex things. You're going to start with everything that I teach you, and your knowledge is going to grow. So while you're making an income and you're already integrating everything that you've learned, then you keep your knowledge growing. Where I studied, it's like I did my advanced diploma, then I did a Bachelor of Science with my honors in homeopathy. I know so many people, and they did all of this study like years on end. And at the end of it, it's like, holy crap. So like now I'm meant to just start this like, you know, practice and like get it thriving. It's awesome to go slow and integrate what you're learning as you go, like with your patients, because like it's so much more fascinating when you're already in the field, you know, learning, and you really cement that knowledge. Then it all becomes really real. I know so many people who have like so much hex debt and they're not practicing because their confidence was not there to just get in and give it a go. And that's why starting with protocols like first aid, making your own little kits for people and selling them, it's like that is the way to go, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just making me. I'm just like thinking about it. And, I think so many people would love it. Like you obviously said before, like the explosion of interest that you're saying. It's good that you're giving back to, and that people are, because eventually it's so they can be, you know, they can become their own teachers,
independent,
and heal themselves and their family and that. So yeah, I think it's unreal.
And that's the point, because you will find people in natural medicine who sort of act like a bit of a natural medicine, but like still like Rockefeller, you know, still like keeping the knowledge to me, or you want my information, you got to come and you got to pay me for this, and like keeping things. It's like you want to teach pretty much every mother and every father really how to use homeopathy in the home. You teach the whole world, then we never get into this situation again. We alleviate the stress on the medical system, leave them to do emergency medicine as they need to, stop burdening them with like all these things. And the parents that are buying these homeopathic first aid kits, they are not needing antibiotics anymore. They're not needing steroids. All of the things that they used to be reliant upon, you can use homeopathy for. So it's like you're benefiting the health of future generations whilst you're making an income. And like, it is a really, look, no one becomes a homeopath to become rich, but you can definitely become very rich doing it because we're so sought after. Everybody that I refer to keeps getting booked out. And so we need more and more people to sort of step into it. And I guarantee that it is the future that we're heading towards. So jump on now.
I'm gonna have to do it myself. I
You
like.
should do
I'm
it.
definitely. I'm gonna tell my mum to do it, right? Because
Yeah.
I think
Oh, she would love it.
she would.
From what you've told
love it.
me,
But
from what you've
I
told me
think,
about her.
yeah. I mean, yeah, like I mean, she went. Yeah, obviously, I've told you like we went to homeopaths for years, but she's just a health nut to the point where she's annoying. So I think this would be good to harness her energy into something and learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when does it start?
So this starts in late October. So I don't even know how many weeks away that is, but maybe like 10 weeks or something. Something like that. Yeah, so there's that one. And then if people don't want to be a practitioner, but they really want to learn, they want to learn how to like detox their kids and they just want like a shorter course, we also do a course that's called Welcome to the Revolution. So it doesn't give them access to the full dispensary. So anybody who becomes a practitioner, it means that the homeopathic pharmacies in Australia, once you show them the certificate that I've signed and your like name is on, you can order any homeopathics that you want from directly from the pharmacy. You're then a practitioner, you're set up. Unfortunately, with Welcome to the Revolution, it's not, but you will learn so much in that other course as well. That one's cheaper. So it's just where people are at. If they ever want to make an income off it, I would do the practitioner one. If they just want to learn and look after their own family, I would do Welcome to the Revolution.
Yeah, so you got the two. So again, like, are you seeing? Is it quite a big thing that a lot of these people are coming from the, I guess, traditional medical field? Like you said, a lot of nurses are doing it. I find that interesting, just because, yeah, like I said to you before offline, because they're coming from like that energy of wanting to do it, right? And
Wanting
it's like
to help.
they've been picked up by the only system that they knew. But they're still that same person with the same mission, but now they've transferred it over to what they can see works.
Yeah. And they have been
Is
phenomenal.
that really, really common? Is it that it's a lot of nurses getting into it?
A lot of people lost their jobs for mandates and they have just sworn off that. So we had 60 come through our practitioner course recently. So all across the US, Canada, and Australia, nurses, midwives, and they're phenomenal. In our next round of the practitioner course, we've actually got, she's like the famous OBGYN who's like on the UK news, who they had going on, you know, during COVID, talking about, you know, fertility issues, about IVF, and talking about, you know, everyone needs to get their jabs, telling all of this stuff. And she is doing our course like now. So we've got a good friendship. And, you know, in talking to her about like her reasons for jumping ship, basically, I mean, she's been the figurehead for fertility and gynecology in the UK. And now she's realizing, she said, medicine needs to meet the spirit. She's like, I cannot work like another day in this field that just pumps people through IVF without addressing the spiritual aspects of what is wrong. So she's going to do it. And she's opening this sort of integrative health clinic. So these are the sorts of people who are already like jumping over. And what I've always said is, it's such a shame, you know, people talk smack about doctors and these people who do all these like suppressive, toxic things. And having a dad who's a doctor has always kept me pretty level-headed about like where things are at with that. And it's like, it's such a shame that a lot of the most brilliant minds, in regards for like memory and learning, at least, you know, you can say they don't have much critical thinking, but they're brilliant minded, a lot of them very intelligent. And if they had been put to the task of learning homeopathic materia medica and what remedies assist with what, we have wasted them in a system where they didn't even need to be intelligent. You know, these days you spit it into a computer, the symptoms, will tell you what drug to give, comes up with a red flashing light if like you're giving two medicines that contraindicate each other. It's like, there's no skill in that. Homeopathy is a skill, and there is nothing like the feeling of studying something that when you are reading it, you feel it within yourself that like, oh my God, this is the truth that I have been looking for. And it encompasses, you know, vibrational aspects of the world, of health, of psychology. And it's like, if people were to study homeopathy only to heal their own lives and to create a life that they love, it would be worth it. For you to know for your own children the vibrational traps that people can get caught in and how to help them through that, it is priceless. There's nothing like it. And so in the work that I do with people, like all around the world, nothing in the world gives me as much joy as seeing them like heal and I mean really heal. You know, there are a lot of people out there, they say they're healers and, oh, I do this and I do that. I don't know. It's like homeopathy it's the one where people, they don't need to see you ongoing.
Yeah, but I mean, your work speaks for itself, and you can see like how passionate you are about it too. Like, and but it's yeah, because like I can imagine, yeah, if you're doing that, I mean, you're seeing it work on the person and improve their life. Like that's the best job ever, right?
Yeah. And the number of them who have been patients and are now, they've signed up to study homeopathy because it's what it's done in their life. And they're like, oh, you know, you become obsessed with it because to an extent, it does almost feel.
They've seen it themselves, right? And yeah.
And it feels like magical. It's like disbelief of like, I can't believe this, like vibrational, like this is how the world really works. And it's not just in health, of course, it's in all aspects, relationships, the amount of relationships that have been saved through like homeopathic medicine, it extends everywhere. So,
well, yeah, I mean, that's why my mum was always a big advocate because I was like vaccine injured, and then she had to go through the library where she found Isaac, and then and she said like, she's like, that shit saved you.
Yeah,
just going.
so good.
Yeah, so I mean, it's got. I mean, it would be. So have you got a limited number of participants for the course then too? No, it's open.
No,
they're like modules, right? So you can get any.
Yeah. And so it's live. So we go through it together. So I did it with our practitioners this morning. They're on their second last module and they're all devastated that it's coming to an end. And they're just like, oh my gosh, just like, because it's so much fun to be learning it together and talking about specific cases together. And yeah, they're really supportive of each other, which is good. And I also teach people, like the last module is about how to build a successful practice. So, I mean, even if somebody is listening to this and they're like a kinesiologist, or maybe they are really good in a healing art, like whatever it is that they're really good at, but they're not good at marketing themselves and actually creating, you know, a successful business model, that is sort of something that I've got that honed in. And so I can teach them that in how to build something successful, because that old sort of like, you know, practitioners working themselves into the ground and, you know, no boundaries, like that's so 2000 and whatever. Now it's like, you know, success, thriving, attracting the patients that you want to help heal and just having a real ripple effect out. So I teach them how to do that, which is important because a lot of homeopaths have all this knowledge and they've devoted their life. Let's say this uni lecturer, Peter, awesome guy. Like I adore him. He's got all this knowledge, can't market himself for shit. So when I'm on Instagram and I say like, go to this guy, he's incredible, and 130 people book in with him, like immediately, he's just like, oh my gosh, this is like the pinnacle of my career. And, you know, you think, imagine if he had never had the chance to share all this knowledge. So I love even having him in this course because he can share everything he knows. Like these people have really honed their art, but if you're going to learn these things, you want to be able to share it with the world. Otherwise,
you want it to be most effective, don't you? Yeah, you've got all components down pat, right?
Yeah, I'm on it. So
I think that's. I mean, that's Yeah, I mean, that's pivotal. That's part of the course if you want it to be a business, right, too, even though they'll probably steal your business, but then it's probably
There's so
it's the
much.
right
And
homeopath for the right client too, isn't it, as well?
exactly. And when you look at it, and I tell all of my homeopaths in the course this, it's like, my gosh, we have millions of people to reach. So whilst I sell homeopathic first aid kits, and I make a lot of money, obviously, selling homeopathic first aid kits, and I'm teaching them how to do their own. And it's like, yeah, you guys are going to be, you know, on the market with me. We've got millions of people to reach. So it's like, you don't want to be a like greedy prick, because this is what everyone complains about Rockefeller, right? He's like, oh, he keeps all this profit for himself. And it's like, you
Yeah,
know, what
monopolize it.
is going to benefit the whole world? What is going to benefit all children of the world? And that is if we've got people in every country like surrounded, if we've got homeopathic hospitals all around Australia, and we must work together, because the reality is that our health is just in such a state right now. It is the worst probably that it has ever been, and we are in actual trouble. When you look just at fertility, the human race, like when sperm counts, if they reach zero, that is the end of us. And I don't know why other people don't seem to see this. I look at sperm results all day, every
It
day.
is the number one problem, isn't it? It
It
is
is
the
number one. It'll be the end of us. And people are not addressing, you know, what is causing that. And definitely homeopathy, like I can see massive increases in sperm, but we need this like around the world, or we're in big trouble. So it's like we pull together, or and this goes for, you know, it extends everywhere, like looking after the earth, looking after each other, looking after future generations. Because I'm a mum of 3 boys, and my husband and I were having this conversation when he was leaving construction, and I said, like, babe, I really think I need to be the one working now in homeopathy, and you need to be home with the boys, just so that I can like get this out there. And he's like, yep, completely agree, like the world is, we're in real trouble, so like let's do it. And it's like, I've got 3 boys. No matter how healthily I raise them, no matter how they've never had a pharmaceutical, you know, but that is not going to matter if they marry and fall in love with a little girl who just can't have children because her body is so toxically burdened. And
right.
this is going to happen to all of us. It's like, I won't have any grandchildren. You can only affect, you know, so we need to look out for all children and all individuals, because, you
I
know,
mean, we
we'll have it.
really don't know the extent of it now, just because the amount of, the younger generation, we don't know yet, right? They're not reproductive age. It's like it's pretty
How
terrifying.
bad?
It was so
Yeah.
uncommon. Like even my parents, like
Yeah.
everyone just no one had a problem with pregnancy. And I mean, you know it, but like there's so many
Yeah.
people in my life that have been trying for years and years and years, and they just can't. It's
It's a real, and it is
unbelievable.
like the most heartbreaking thing, I think, for somebody who like biologically has that urge to have children. It's like grief upon grief upon grief, and it's like the most unfair thing. And it's so unfair because it's pretty much always nothing that they have done in their own personal life. It's the result of this toxic world and the
Yeah,
toxic
yeah.
things that have been done to us without our knowledge.
I just want to know if I want to know if mine works. I've never had it checked.
Yes, your sperm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, yep. Well, at least you're jab free. Definitely, fertility has dropped off a cliff in the last 5 years. So I was practicing 5 years ago in
you were
fertility.
seeing the decline already before the vaccines, yeah, before the latest round.
So it was already like fertility was, you know, they say 1 in 6, it was an issue. But with homeopathy, I could overcome like over 80% of that with people with infertility back then. These days, when I am detoxing them from the spike proteins issue, whether that is from COVID virus itself or whether they did get vaccinated, some of these women are passing clots the size that they have never experienced before. And what that tells us is that the spike proteins have been a big issue. Now, when you're looking at fertility in a baby, even a tiny little blood clot could cause an issue in the placenta and be a miscarriage. And we have seen a massive increase in that. So we really need to be aware of and looking for how can we clear out these spike proteins. And definitely homeopathics is one of the king hitting ways of doing that. And yeah, it's remarkable what people are reporting back to me. And I have never seen anything like what I'm seeing now as a result of the last couple of years. unfortunately.
Yeah, even the trials and that they've shown now how there was like a direct attack on the ovaries, right? They knew that from the start, obviously intentional. But so you are saying that yeah, there can be success around that too, that you've had success with people that have both
But I will
had those issues.
there is definitely success to be had, but I'm having to work a lot harder for the success than before. Before it was a lot easier, but this still for people is when you look at around the world, what is being reported, fertility has taken a massive dive around the world. Miscarriage rates and stillbirth rates are completely up.
Yeah, it is.
Homeopathically, it's like we just have to do everything that we can do and leave the rest up to the universe to sort of like take care of things. But yeah, it's definitely a therapy that I think everybody should be using going into conceiving. But definitely people still getting pregnant. So anyone listening to this who is just like your stomach is clenched and you're freaking out, please, like, don't worry, but just know that homeopathics is a really important tool. Also, all of that sunlight, the healing, the energy. The body has a remarkable capacity to heal itself, but you must give it that vital energy to do so. So cut out the toxins, cut out any bad behavioral things that you're doing, clear yourself of all of that emotional baggage that's weighing you down, really get into that vibration of like healing, rest, and give your body space for it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's pretty cool work too. I passed you on to another friend the other week too. I'm like, you gotta see Melissa.
Oh, I don't know who would that have been.
No, she hasn't yet. I've been telling her to. She will, hopefully.
Yeah. But yeah, you should totally do it. I'm not sure if JC's going to do it. JC's like sort of naturally all up in it, and obviously JC's daughter had a big breakthrough with her autism and
yeah, that's awesome.
All of that with it. And again, that was detoxing, I think like DTAP and MMR. And it's when you have a child who can't speak or doesn't make eye contact, and then you detox something like that homeopathically, and the results are like the next day. It is like everybody should be talking about this. Everybody. Do you know what that means to a parent? Like, yes, it hasn't reversed the autism entirely, but do you know what that means to a parent when you see even eye contact, like, and they start singing to you, or that recognition? It's like, this is like world changing, and people don't know. Well, more people are knowing,
I've seen autistic kids absolutely thriving just on a good diet. So if you added that to the mix as well. All right, I'm probably gonna have to leave it here, mate.
Yep, awesome. Thank you for catching up with me.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'll leave the links in the video, and awesome. Yeah, so if people want to sign up, just click on the links. And when you start again, when's the first one? October, yeah, you said late October.
End of October.
Cool.
And it's all recorded for anyone who can't make it live. It all gets recorded, and you can access the modules and all of that for up to 12 months after. So
okay, cool. Yeah, and I've got a discount code too, so I'll put that in the link too if people want to use that. What do they get with that? 10%, is it?
10, I think it is set up. Yeah, 10%. I think I don't do that side of it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And I've seen a couple of people sign up with your name already. So I will meet lots of Dale Holmes fans, I'm sure.
Say hi to them. Well, yeah, until next time. And
awesome.
I will come see you one day in Brizzy.
Please do. Seriously.
I will. I've been back and forth a few times, but it's always in and out, but I will.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I'll see you soon.
No worries, mate. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.